host, Karla Nivens.
Welcome to the Every Heart, Every Woman show. My name is Karla Nivens. I am your host. Our show is a program of Love Ministries, which is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. You can find out all the great information about Love Ministries as you head to their website. Go to loveministriesbills.org. You can also head over to my website and see all the information that I have for you there, karlanivens.com. Well, I'm so excited to welcome Heather Deuillet and Courtney Kelly on to the Every Heart, Every Woman show. Courtney's been on a couple of times, and Heather, this is number one for you. I'm sure it won't be the last, but welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you all for being here. Well, I have talked all about my life here on the show, so everybody knows that I not left worship, but I'm not exactly doing worship every single week. For my weekday job at Highland Park United Methodist Church, I am building the racial justice ministry and really diving into diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging work. And so I thought, I am so ready to talk about this thing that we are just now spinning and figuring out now. I like to talk about stuff before we have it figured out. That way later on, like a year later, we can be like, yeah, we were total pros. We just, we were kidding. Acting like we didn't know what we were doing. Yeah. We knew exactly what we were doing. So we decided to start racial justice small groups. And I know that Heather and Courtney, you all were during COVID, actually. COVID kind of put through a wrench in everything, but you all had a conversation after the world watched what happened to George Floyd. And that kind of stemmed this idea for you all to gather people to have conversations about race. Is that kind of the nuts and bolts of it?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And so since COVID kind of threw a wrench in that plan and you didn't ever have the opportunity to I think you all did it once and you didn't have the opportunity to do it again, I snagged you all and said, would you all be the leaders of the racial justice small group? And you all were just out of your minds enough to say yes. And so we have started this thing and I'm so excited. It's been so much fun to have these conversations every week. So I want to start kind of with that basic question, and what Heather will start with you. What makes you interested in even saying yes to me and being a leader of our very first racial justice small group?
Well, I was hoping Courtney would go first. I'm totally kidding. Well, okay, so Courtney and I did the recording for the church, a conversation in black and white, I think is what they called it. And
yeah, and that's still on the website, right? If people go to hpumc.org, you can search for conversations in black and white, and you all's conversation comes up.
Yeah, and I think we were friends before that, but it definitely gave us a deeper appreciation for each other, and I think and also for me a curiosity, and I just started reading a lot, and so I was in leadership in another Bible study at the time, and I kind of thought, well, we'll see what happens, and but I shelved that. And so I had given kind of my notice, whatever, turned them down for leadership this year. And I'd really been praying about it. I really didn't know why at the time. But then when you contacted me, Karla, I was like, well, that's why. So I just was really led by the Spirit to do it. And I'm super excited. And, it's also kind of a selfish thing for me because I am wanting to learn myself. So it's just a natural role, I think.
Yeah. The best way to learn is just start doing it. Women need to know this. A lot of times we wait until we think we are a professional at it or we're an expert before we say yes. The best way to learn, I read that in a book a couple of years ago. The best way to learn something is to lead it, because then you have to learn yourself to stay ahead of the class. And so that's that's how you do it. So I love that answer. Courtney, what about you? What made you just go ahead and say yes?
Because I say yes to everything you asked me to do.
I knew you were gonna say that. That's why I didn't ask you first.
No, I'm gonna say, okay, second part. So you guys know this, but I do a lot of things outside of my normal day job, which is already very stressful and taxing. So honestly, I was not really looking forward to adding another thing to my plate. But Heather, I'm gonna kind of steal part of your story. I remember you texted us, Karla, and was like, "Hey, are you guys gonna do this?" And like Heather was at the Civil Rights Museum in Atlanta, or in Memphis, sorry.
Yes.
Like at the spot where MLK was killed, and she was like, "Karla, you just texted me right when I was in this moment." And that's when I was like, okay, God, I see what you're doing here. I need to say yes. So that kind of pushed me over the edge. I was like, all right, it doesn't matter. It's going to work out. I'm going to have enough time. I'm going to have the energy and momentum to get this done because it's something I need to do right now. So Thank you both for being who you are.
That's perfect. That's perfect timing. And it's so cool that you were like, yeah, I see God in this. So let's go ahead and say, yeah. Yeah, I love that. So did you all walk into this with a definite end in mind, thinking, I'm going to lead this group and we are going to accomplish XYZ? Courtney, you can tackle that first.
Okay, I'll go first. We actually talked about this. Heather and I talked for maybe about an hour just before we were about to kick everything off. And one of those questions was like, do we have any expectations? And for me, just kind of the way my life has run, I tend to not have expectations about things besides the fact that God is going to somehow use me, use this experience, use the people that we're going to interact with to bring about greater good in the world. So that was my only expectation. What it looks like, I wasn't quite sure. Were we going to get it all right the first time? I was sure we would probably stumble along the way in some aspects, but I knew that whatever we were doing was good and goodness was going to come out of it. So that was my only real expectation.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, Heather, what about you?
Can I just say ditto? Because I mean, I'm a yes person. So when I go into something, and I've learned now through leadership, like you already said beautifully, that you just dive in. I mean, you're not going to have all the answers. God doesn't expect you to have all the answers. So why should you think you should have all the answers? Because he's going to provide them anyway. So I just jumped in and went, okay, we're going to figure this out along the way and it's going to be good. So
yeah, that's that, the story of my life. I mean, I've said so many different times when we started Every Heart, Every Woman, then radio shows on the radio. Our first time was our first time and we had no idea. And I was so scared. Like I was so scared. And look at us. I don't even know what year we're in, 4, maybe. So that's how you learn to do something, jump into it. I'm literally a living witness to that. So I love it. Is it easy for you all to talk about race, like just openly? Heather, you want to go?
Sure. It's gotten easier. I won't say it's always been easy. I think that recording with Courtney, just set me on fire about it. And I thought, if I can do this for 45, we talked for a good hour and I was stunned that they really didn't edit most of our conversation, hardly any of it. And, I thought, I can do this. We're made to do hard things. And, so I've gotten better at it. I'm not great at it sometimes, especially depending on who the audience is or what the conversation is. But yeah, I feel like it's an uncomfortable conversation no matter what, usually. But I feel like I've gotten more comfortable with the uncomfortable. So I think that's Courtney. I may have just stolen your words. I'm not sure, but I think I may have just quoted you. I think I did.
I think you did, but that's good. That's good. Yeah, because so we've talked a lot about race, and I've always been my parents always talked about race inside of our household. So the idea of talking about race has never come as something that's been challenging. But I will say that sometimes it has been hard, just because sometimes I'm like, why aren't we there yet? Like, why do I still have to explain very basic or to me, very basic concepts. And I still struggle with the fact that people don't readily get on board with something or can't readily see my viewpoint when like these are things that I've been dealing with for almost 31 years of my life. And like I'm just trying to get you to understand one sliver of that, and people are just so adamant against it. So there have been some times lately, as they would in the last 6 months, where I'm just like, gosh darn it. Like, why do I have to do this again? But in the back of my head, I know like this is all a part of it. You know, it's a slow process. And I keep going and have to meet people where they are and bring them along the journey. And maybe they see something, maybe they don't, but we're just planting seeds, right, Heather?
Absolutely.
Planting seeds.
That's my job.
You know, and I think, do you all think the world is getting better talking about it? I hope they are. I feel like us in our circle, we're getting better. We're mixing our circles up more. We are becoming uncomfortable and not afraid of the results of being uncomfortable. I used to be. I was like, oh my goodness. When we went to, for example, when we went to the African American Museum, I was really afraid of what everyone would think, that maybe it was their first experience. But it went so well. Like everybody was so open, and it made, you know, it's like now when I see people that were on that trip, they were like, remember Karla and me? Remember me from the trip? And I said this, and, you know, I had these comments, and it brought us together. So I urge anyone that's listening that hasn't taken the leap to get into conversations like this, or if you're listening and you're thinking, I want to join this particular small group, racial justice small group, I think you should do it, because it definitely makes some, y'all.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes.
It makes some memories. Did you all, let me ask you a back question. Did you all have, what were your conversations before, like on your own, before you recorded the conversations in black and white?
Conversations between
Like
Heather and I, or with other people?
Between you and Heather.
I feel like we didn't really talk about it that much, which is part of like what we've been learning and figuring out, is that like I've always known that if anything ever happened to me, like Heather's just one of my friends. So it was never really a thing that we talked about. But in the same token, and this is part of the premise for the group that we were trying to form through the lens, like I would not, if something had happened, I probably wouldn't immediately think, well, let me talk about this racially sensitive issue, because I didn't view Heather as someone that was within that sphere or that played that role in my life. And there's nothing negative about it. It's just people, and we have different relationships with different people, and there's certain things you talk about with different people. But what we've come to understand is the same conversations that I have, like Karla, I would come up to you on Sunday, we talk about the latest shooting of a Black person. I wouldn't have those conversations with other people, but we've learned that no, you need to be having those conversations with other people. So Heather and also Heather's friend and now my friend Kylie, like we have this trio where we share openly about these things. And when things happen, we have this now open dialogue that just kind of extended the range of our relationship and a range of topics that we talk about. So that's kind of been, I don't know, my experience. Heather, you want to chime in on that?
Yeah, I was thinking about when we went to coffee. I mean, we've always had, because I feel like we met obviously we met in the church through the choir, through you, Karla. Thank you. But I was thinking about, we've gone and met for coffee and breakfast and stuff before all of this. And I mean, we just always talked as friends, not as close as we are now, for sure. But it wasn't necessarily about race. I don't remember having those kind of conversations, but I always, I don't know. We've always connected. So, but I definitely feel like it's a deeper connection now, with, and being able to talk about race And so now it's a common thing, and I do ask Courtney everything. I feel like, hey, what do you think about this? I remember I was buying a yard sign, and I was like, is this okay? Is this what I should be saying for this yard sign? And she was like, yes, that one's really good. And I was like, okay, good.
Yeah,
so,
that's perfect. You know, one thing that one comment where I just went to the Together We Dine through Project Unity. If you need more information about Project Unity or Together We Dines, reach out to me. But I just participated a couple Fridays ago in the Together We Dine, and one of the comments was, I go to church with people of, not me, but this person said, I go to church with people of my same race because that is the only time where I can be myself. Mm-hmm. And we all thought, okay, how long does church last? Like, that is the only time you get to be by yourself, and it's just because you're with people of your same race. If we make the move, and I say this as gently as possible, because for some reason, for some people, it's really difficult, and I understand that. And you have to take baby steps. I understand that. But if it were, if it's in your heart, take the step to have these conversations with people that you wouldn't think of having them with. And what you will find is that your life will open up, and you are yourself in so many different circles, and not just a couple when you are with people of your own race or when you're with your family. You can make these pockets, and you all's story, Heather and Courtney, I feel like you all's story hit this home. Like, you all, of course, were friends. We were all friends, but when you start having these kinds of deep conversations, then you become family, and you're talking more, you're talking deeply about different issues. I love that. So I'm going to ask you all this one last thing. If you could dream up one thing that you hope to accomplish with the racial justice small group, what would that one thing be?
Courtney, are you going first? Oh no, I spoke first. That means it's me.
I know. I'll say one thing, and it Karla, just kind of alludes to what she was just saying. I just hope that these conversations become more normal. I feel like they need to become more normal, because even though we've made leaps and bounds, if you look at last year in comparison to the year before and the year before, what I'm finding is that there are a lot more people who are more open to talking about these things, but they're just like waiting for someone to talk to them about it. Right. And once they realize, like, okay, I can talk to you about this, it's like there's another layer that's gone, right? So in society in general, we kind of have these like invisible layers or invisible lines, walls blocking people from one another. Those walls need to be taken down. Like, we're all just human. It's okay to ask somebody, hey, what's your name? Where are you from? Like, I just feel like as a society, we'll be more better off the more that we can be authentic within ourselves, right? And I think that it's godly to be authentic. Yes. And the more spaces that you can be authentic in, the better off you'll be. So if this small group can start spreading that, right? Being able to allow people to be authentic, to learn more about one another, to appreciate more about one another, to learn how to invite people into that space, into this pocket of safety, so that they can be authentic wherever they are, then we will have accomplished something really, really great and really good.
Yeah, I love that. What about you, Heather?
I mean, I think it's just spreading the golden rule. I mean, love your neighbor as yourself, and love and empathy. That's my goal, trying to be more like Jesus all the time. So that's what I think I would hope for,
Yeah, that's great. I honestly would hope for, as the director of the Racial Justice Ministry, I would hope that this catches on with so many people, and we pass it on to our children and our grandchildren, and these conversations, continue to happen, that our hearts would change and turn towards each other, and that we would, because I feel like my grandmother, my parents also, we talked about race at the dinner table. It was a natural conversation. My grandmother, both of them, but particularly my dad's mom, always made sure she told us, you are to love people. And, she said that probably every time she taught us something. You are to love people. And I've never forgot. I mean, you know how it is when your grandmother tells you something, it's the gospel to you. So if we were to say, you know what, I'm going to reach outside of my circle, start having great conversations with people that I don't normally talk with about race and about issues that they are facing, then we become family, we build a bridge. And I'm going to teach that to my children and to my grandchildren. And I believe they'll learn it. And I believe that we will learn to love our neighbor as ourselves, and that we will learn to just show the love of Jesus Christ, the same love that the Lord has extended to us. We really will learn how to extend that to others. So ladies, thank you all so much for joining me. I hope that this is not our last conversation about race. You can reach out to me, everyone, if you would like more information about our racial justice small groups. We would love for you to join us. Go to my website, karlanivens.com, and my email is karla@karlanivens.com. We'll talk again, because I want Courtney to talk about the things that she has coming out. She's got some great things coming out. And Courtney, you want to just mention them real fast before we sign off?
Yeah, I mean, so the main one is my children's book. It's going to be called Celeste Saves the City. Should be out in a few months. It's about a girl from New Orleans that grows up to become a civil engineer and saves the city by restoring wetlands. I don't know what else you want me to talk about besides that.
You've got your other businesses on Etsy now, actually.
Oh, yeah. So Elvis Bakes, it's like Elvis Dumbledore from Harry Potter. So Elvis Bakes. It's a rabbit treats for rabbits, I should say, company. So I bake little rabbit treats and sell them on Etsy.
Yeah. So everyone, you got to check Courtney out. She has a brilliant mind. So she's always coming up with all of these ideas. So check her out on Etsy. And then look for her children's book. She is an engineer by trade, and her life, this is kind of your life story in this children's book, and what the Lord gave you. So we talk all the time. We started talking, not all the time. We started talking about, I was telling Heather and Courtney how I like to be a part of a team. And I was like, I want to go and talk about every heart, every woman as much as I can. And also my book, True Leaders with Heart. And so I was like, we got to go on a book tour together. So Heather, you have to write a book, because you have to be on the book tour with us.
I'll work on that, girls. I got to be there for this book tour. So I got to have a book.
We are dreaming this thing up and working on it. So ladies, thank you all so much for joining us. For our leadership hack, I don't know if you all have a leadership hack already in your mind, but for our leadership hack, I think what we would like for you all to do is to go around and set some areas where you can connect with people outside of your circle and talk about race. Is that a good leadership hack?
Yeah, and ask better questions. I would say just ask people questions, or it's easy to talk to somebody. I feel like people don't know how to even start a conversation sometimes with people that are different,
Yeah.
So
that's
compliments are nice if you want to start.
Yeah.
Genuine compliments.
That's great. All right. Well, everyone, my name is Karla Nivens. I am your host. We will see you back here next week.